Hello, welcome to Nursing with Professor B. My name is Bridget. I have a master's degree in nursing education. I'm also a family nurse practitioner. In today's video, I will be going over which states allow NP autonomous practice and which states allow it as soon as you get your nurse practitioner license and which states have requirements. So if you're curious to know where you can practice as an NP, if there's restrictions or not, then this video is for you. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you turn on that notification bell. It helps me tremendously. And you can always unsubscribe later if you change your mind. It doesn't cost anything to you. This video is for any nurse practitioner that has now been licensed and you're wondering, what are the laws regarding your state where you work? All right, so the full practice definition, you guys can pause and read this on your own, but essentially it lets you practice to the full extent of your scope of practice. There are no restrictions and there are no limitations. And when I say to the full extent of your scope of practice. So as NPs, obviously our scope of practice is not the same scope of practice as, for example, a cardiothoracic surgeon, right? We will not be doing cardiothoracic surgery. That's not within our scope of practice. But so in your state, can you practice to your full extent of your scope of practice? Full practice authority states, and I'll explain to you. So as this is up on the screen, I won't read to you all the states, but I will tell you what it means. So these are all the states where as soon as you graduate as a nurse practitioner, if for example you're in Hawaii, then you can take out your NP license and you don't have to have a collaborative physician sign into an agreement with you. And essentially you could see patients on your own, you could open your own practice, you could have your own aesthetic clinic. Always, of course, consult your lawyer for legal counsel, all of that. This is not legal advice, but these are the states that you can practice independently immediately. This is according to the AANP. Now, what does this NC or C mean? What this means is that Alaska is not a compact state, which is the nursing license compact. And what that means is that before, for example, if you're interested in working in telemedicine, as I am, I have to get licensed in other states. Now, currently, there's a nursing license compact for registered nurses. There is no nursing license compact for APRNs, which is, honestly, we need a compact for APRNs because it gets so expensive applying to all these states. And it's just like so many hoops to run through. I can't tell you how many times I've been fingerprinted in the past year. So anyways, so Alaska's not a compact state. So let's say that I'll use myself as an example. I currently live in the state of Florida. If I want to practice in Alaska, then first I have to apply for a nursing license. And then after I get my nursing license, then I can apply for the APRN license. And that's how most states go. First, you have to apply for the nursing license. Now, if it's a compact state such as Arizona, then that means when I applied for my nursing license and when I renew my nursing license, actually no, I initially didn't have this is the first year I took out a multi-state or the compact state license. And so you can upgrade that at any time. And this was the first year I did that. So when you take out, if your state participates in the compact license state, which that could be another YouTube video I could make, but I'll put a quick picture of it up here. So if your state participates in the nursing license compact, then you only have to take the APRN license out, which makes your life a lot easier because you're not having to submit 2 applications per state. I'll give you an example of how long this takes. I applied in May to Washington and Oregon, and those are not compact states. See, Washington and Oregon, and they're still waiting on my fingerprints. I have everything in, and I'm just waiting on my fingerprints to be approved. So it can take a while. Hawaii also not compact, Alaska, Oregon, Washington, and Rhode Island. And from personal experience, again, applying to states that are not in the NLC, it's more of a headache than applying to the compact states. So if you're trying to knock out a bunch of licenses, I would start with your compact states first, unless of course your employer is asking you for you to get a license in certain states. All right. Now, these are also full practice authority states after you practice with physician oversight for a specific amount of hours. So all of these states, once you get, and sometimes I'll say the same thing twice because maybe the way I said it the first time doesn't stick, but when I say it a second time, it sticks. So once again, all of these states, after you meet these requirements, then you do have full practice authority. So again, you can practice to the full extent of the law, basically, of your scope of practice. Colorado is 1,000 hours. Connecticut is 3 years and 2,000 hours. You want to check with each state to make sure it's an and or an or, right? Because if it's 3 years or 2,000 hours, that changes things. In Florida, it's currently 3,000 hours. They don't have a requirement on how long it takes you. Delaware is also 2 years and 4,000 hours. And again, this one's compact, not compact, compact, not compact. This one's pending legislation, actually. So they've passed there's legislation that's been written, but it hasn't passed yet. Kentucky is 4 years. They don't specify amount of hours. Maine is 2 years, and Maryland is 1.5 years. This is the other 8 through 14 that of the states that allow full practice after physician oversight. We have Minnesota, Nebraska. This Nevada is 2 years or 2,000 hours. South Dakota is 1,040 hours. This one is also awaiting legislation. So as of yet, it's not compact. And Virginia is 5 years or 9,000 hours. This is important to know before you start getting your licenses in a specific state. And then you're like, oh man, I can't practice by myself in Virginia for 5 years? That's a long time. Now, here's the definition for reduced practice. Some states, even after you've been working with a collaborator for a certain amount of time, you're going to not be able to do certain things. And this reduces the ability of NPs to engage in at least one element of NP practice. So it's things that is within our scope of practice, and yet we're still not allowed to do. And state law requires a career-long regulated collaborative agreement. Again, this is from the AANP. Full, reduced, restricted. Full, reduced, restricted. Full, reduced, restricted. So the red is restricted scope of practice. I'll go over that. And in the yellow, which is reduced practice, NPs still can't do one thing that's within their scope of practice. Whereas restricted practice, it's laws that restrict the ability of NPs to engage in at least one element of NP practice. And state law requires career-long supervision, delegation, or team management. So Florida is one of the most restrictive states. I looked up what we cannot do in Florida. So for example, the most restrictive states to practice are Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia. And NPs in Florida cannot diagnose or treat patients without physician involvement, and they can only prescribe certain limited medications. And state law does not define whether NPs can be primary care providers. In Georgia, despite there being a severe shortage of primary care providers, they have still not lifted restrictions to give NPs more autonomy. The state of Tennessee places significant restrictions on NPs. So another example of a Florida restriction is the inability to involuntarily commit a suicidal patient under the Baker Act, inability to sign death certificates, lack of recognition as primary care providers on Medicaid and Medicare and private insurance company provider panels, and other restrictions. When I was in school, I remember they teach us to be advocates, and we weren't able to prescribe diabetic shoes for diabetic patients. What we would have to do is refer that patient to a physician, and most oftentimes we just have to transfer the care because the patient's not going to be coming to us for everything else and then going to a physician for the shoes, right? So it's just an inconvenience. The states with the fewest restrictions to practice are Washington State, Arizona, and New Mexico. And New Mexico offers autonomy for FNPs plus a $3,000 tax credit and tuition reimbursement to qualified candidates who work in under-reserved areas, particularly rural cases. If you like the slides that break down which states have restrictions, what are the restrictions, what are the compact states, not compact states, then send me a screenshot that you subscribe to my channel and I will send you a link so that you can access the previous slides. I did create them myself, and it would save you a lot of time in exchange for not having to basically dig up all that information on different board of nursing sites. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment below. Which state are you watching from? And does your state allow you to practice independently? All right, until next time.